I see your screen now. This is good. No studio. No sounds. No sounds. Hello, Mike and Cindy. Love your way. Hey, hey. Watchman. Hi, Kenny Crowder. Can you guys hear us yet? No audio.
Wonder why. The mic is showing it's working.
How about now? Testing, testing. Okay. Hear you now. Yes. Hi, Cheeky Cherub. I like that name. That's cute. Morning Star. Hi. Cheryl S. How are you? Kenny Crowder. Marie Admiral Bird Bear. Cypher. Kyla Page. Love that name, Page. Hi, D. James. Hello, hello, hello. Is so happy. I'm so happy. Now you guys can hear us and we can see you. And we can talk about things and roll things around, figure out what's going on. I saw a couple of people asking about Comet Atlas. We did a little research on that. Not a whole lot.
Well, no, we've been researching it.
It looks like it's changed trajectories, which is strange.
Well, that was a report I heard earlier today that possibly had changed trajectories. And, how do we really know what these things are? What if these comets are simply ships? What if they're simply ships, and they could come in any old time? Hey, Christine and Morningstar, Anon. Good to see you guys. T-Fanjoy. So, and then there's reports that there's more than one atlas. Some of you guys were saying, did you check out Steve WSO's latest? And I was listening to it. And, Atlas stands for basically like one of the telescopes they use to see incoming asteroids, potential problems. And as we talked about on the earlier video today, that's one of the things that's supposed to come along now, according to the plan. We had the Russian menace, and then we had the terrorism thing going on. And now we're supposed to go into asteroids and then ultimately to alien invasion as the big, threat to humankind. When we know who the real threat is, it's the controllers.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And oh my gosh, Cindy, you're the first to sound my name properly as Paige, even though I don't normally use an E. I just love that name. And there's something very angelic about it. It's very soft and sweet. But yeah, we do have a lot of things going on. We have, things just, they're simply not as they seem. And that's just that. And, I think everybody's asleep until they wake up. And when they wake up, then they do know what's going on. They do understand that things are not as they seem. And then hopefully you can find a nice group of people you can talk to and go over things with and help you work through this, because it's not an easy task once you wake up. It's just never ending. The rabbit hole is deeper than you could ever possibly have imagined. Sky's the limit. Yeah, life is interesting.
Seriously interesting times. That is for sure. So much going on. I didn't sleep at all last night, really, guys. Well, a little bit. But I was going to share with you why. A lot of you guys are starting to notice that you could see things that perhaps you couldn't see before. And a lot of us are waking up with our abilities, but also we're going up in vibration. And I'm curious. I didn't look at this today. I was going to pop up the Schumann, because it's been going kind of bonkers at times, as we know. Not too bad right now. Had a pretty strong period here and then there. So, yeah, right now it's not as high as it was. We're only looking at a 14. But as we know, this is all related to consciousness and everything that's going on. And so we're changing. Everything is changing with us. We're going up in vibration. So we see the physical world, and then what's above us? What's like turning an octave? What's turning that radio tuner into a new program? Well, the very next plane next to us is actually the lower astral plane. Then you have the middle astral plane and the higher astral plane. Then we jump into the mental plane according to this chart, and you'll find charts with slightly different terminology as well. But basically, we are multidimensional beings, and when we sleep, we're off on the astral. So we could kind of view it as 3D here, 4D in here, and then going 5D and 6D and on up the line. And scientists have now even discovered that our brain is set to function on many different dimensions as well. So, there are beings, I think, that we could see a lot easier now. I mean, they always were there. They were always there, but it's just we were at a different frequency, so we couldn't necessarily see them. Perhaps sometimes they could see us. Perhaps sometimes they couldn't see us. But now, all of a sudden, we're starting to share space with a lot more things than we used to, and we notice each other in many cases.
We do, and the eyes are interesting. A lot of times you'll catch them in the corner of your eye. Has something to do with rods and cones. I forget which is which, but I believe we have rods on the outside of our eye, and that makes it easier to see like different shadows, dimensions, and stuff like this. So like if you think you see something in your eye, you turn to look, your cones focus, and then you can't see it anymore. But you saw what you saw. So it does feel like things are merging in closer dimensionally, and impressions of things too. That's something that I get super, super strong. Like I get impressions of maybe it might be a little man running across the desk or something. It's crazy stuff. And, that's why they want to lock us up. And it's just not very nice. It's not a nice thing to do when we know we saw what we saw, heard what we heard, and they're telling you you're not. I think that's abusive, actually.
So, yeah, a lot of interesting comments. People seeing things in the sky, people seeing ships, and maybe even, beings up in the sky as well as around us. A lot of people not getting good sleep. Coastal Kuda says, yes, everybody in my house is having a hard time sleeping. Even children are only getting a few hours at a time. Yeah, there's a lot of beings that are testing the waters now, too. And honestly, I feel like they're targeting out some targeted individuals that they're trying to get to now. They're trying to weaken us, torment, torture. This is a multi-dimensional war we have going on here. A multi-dimensional war. And you guys are talking about hair as an antenna. Well, yeah, I'm hairier than I've ever been. I've never been one to have like a long beard. I always had kind of more of a stubble. But I'm heading into Santa Claus mode now. So, of course, the weight's going the opposite way of Santa Claus. But, yeah. But, yeah, hair is an antenna. Actually, it was interesting, too, because the Army used to recruit Native Americans to be their scouts because they had such good sense, such good senses, intuition. And they did find that when they cut their hair and got them in proper Army, grooming, they were not as effective. So there is something to that. And hence, that's why I really haven't cut my hair since 2015. And the beard has been growing now for a couple months. So, yeah, Chris is getting dreads. There you go. And, Yeah, it's just the time, and plus it's like I just feel like we're in for change, and it's all about change, and 3D even is kind of going bye-bye in so many ways as we head up through these dimensions and go into a new reality. So last night was weird. I encountered an entity that I had never encountered before, and it felt different than any entity I've ever felt before. And, I've seen what I would call wraiths 4, maybe 5 times clearly. And those are like shadow beings. They look like black holes. There's no light in them. They look like black holes. Often they have glowing red eyes. It wasn't one of those. This thing, I didn't really get a glimpse of it. It was shadowy, and it took off as soon as I woke up. It just basically wanted to knock me out of my sleep. So it laughed. It was, in our space, and it just let off the biggest laugh. I've heard sounds from the other side before, and honestly pleasant before. I've heard angelic sounds before that I know was beautiful and benevolent, like angels literally singing in my ears. And that happened a couple days after this golden orb was in my room that woke me up, and I watched it for a while until it went out of my bedroom, down the hallway, and through my daughter's bedroom and out the side of the house. But that felt totally angelic. This thing did not feel angelic. This thing felt like, the energy that it had. If you watched, Thor's brother Loki, his energy, kind of like a meaner version of that, a nastier version, a very, very mischievous type of thing. Actually, it hits me as, and I described it to Cindy, and she said, yep, you're right. It hit me as kind of like a bounty hunter. And because I asked Cindy about this after we were doing meditation, and when she was still in kind of a trance, I was asking her, what did she get from this being? And because its laugh was like nothing I've ever heard of before. It was very diabolical. But kind of humanish. And so I asked her impressions of it.
Well, he's not nice. He's like, he knows how to get under the skin. It's like he's found some kind of a loophole. He's found some way in to cause problems. And I might call it a goblin angel, but I don't like putting the word angel in there. It was more of a demon thing, and it's found its way in.
It wasn't purely demonic, I wouldn't say. It felt more like a dark gray instead of a black. You know what I mean? A dark gray is the way I would term it. And goblin angel is a term that Cindy's daughter always, she has amazing abilities. And so she sees beings all day long, every day, that are all around us. And so there's some that perch up in trees that are very mischievous, and that's her term for them, goblin angels.
Yeah, she calls them goblin angels. But this thing wasn't, I don't know if it was, I don't think it was, it looked like, I keep seeing a beetle, but it has a human face, and it has certain features, and it's just not a nice being, and somehow if it's found its way in, so we got to work with that.
Yeah, so I asked Cindy, is this just an opportunistic thing? Because one of the things that we discovered is, we have felt and encountered the Draco, and they don't bother us directly. They play games, and so they also use grays, both the short and the tall grays. There's one tall gray that they've assigned to watch us, and we've seen it many times when we're out hiking in the desert. We'll catch kind of a shimmering that looks like Predator. You know how Predator, you could kind of see through Predator in the movies? Well, that's what this is. It's kind of cloaked, but you could tell it. And so we've seen it so many times when we're out hiking. It's followed us all over the desert, followed us even out of the desert up to like Shasta areas. And it's just a sign to us. It watches us, and we know it's working for the Draco. And even Draco patrols we've had go by. Like back before all this, we used to go play pool, 2 or 3 times a week. And pretty much right at 7 o'clock, there would be a Draco patrol that would go by, and Cindy would be like, up there they go. And we've had orbs that we've filmed following us. But this felt different. And so I asked her if this was something that was one of those opportunistic beings, because right now there's more different types of beings in our sky and in ships out there than like there's been forever, or at least in our experience, because what's going on the planet right now is huge. It's huge. So you have so many people, so many beings out there that are just they're watching the show. They're lined up watching the show, gonna see how it turns out. And some are like scavengers, so when there's an opportunity, they'll come in and they'll do whatever they can get away with, and that might be stealing people's energy, that might be causing havoc and mischief, could be starting fights, could be anything really. But there's all sorts of beings out there. So I asked her if this was one of those opportunistic beings, or was it working for the Draco?
Right. And Sharon Lee, thank you very much. Sometimes I see these things and I don't know the right vocabulary words, but this sounds good. It's an interloper, very nasty. They come in to intercept and interrupt the positive message you are supposed to receive, and to interrupt your ability to physically and mentally rest. Thank you. Now I know what that is. It's like I get these things and I get these feelings and energies of what it is, but now that makes sense to me. So thank you for that information there.
So I just saw, I'm sorry, I was just like drifting off into space remembering this. I see Ricky said just the fact that we all got visited by the same kind of thing last night is really interesting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess multiple people did, and it's like they can't attack us directly because, some of us, we're definitely protected. You guys, you're light workers in this chat room for sure. So I know you're protected too, and they can mess with other people maybe more directly. But they can do things like, you're saying there, Sharon Lee, disrupt our sleep. And that's all this thing seemed to want to do, was just basically interrupt my deep sleep. And then the rest of the dreams were kind of battling, kind of like lower astral realm battling going on. And that is what's going on now. So, the lower astral realm is where these little guys and big guys live. And so you got that this was actually a fairly powerful being. And, what other impressions did you have?
He has some pretty serious abilities. Impressions is like he knows something that you don't, or he knows he's interrupted something. It's like he has an in, and it's something we're not going to figure out. So it's like he has something one up on us, and I don't quite understand it.
Kim says, is the property on something rooted there? We're still learning this property. I've found a human tooth on it that I think is from a giant. It's too big to be a normal human tooth, and I've seen other pieces of bone that I'm feeling are human. It's where we are is very close to I'd say a portal, so I think my first impression was like a shadow walker, is what my first impression was, something along those lines, because it felt like something that had some abilities. And we've had a lot of experiences on this property already, and we've found footprints that are unusual, triangular, almost like what you would expect a dinosaur to have, but not that big, but pretty good size, clawed. And we've heard some unusual sounds that we just are like, what could make that noise, So very interesting. Yeah, dreams are definitely way more vivid. I did not see the entity's details. I just caught basically a shadow that was, I'd say, big human sized, like a large man sized. And as soon as it laughed and my eyes opened and I saw the shadow, it took off. It just immediately turned around real fast and went straight out the door. So I didn't get a really good look at it. But all it wanted to do was just ruin my night's sleep. And then after that, the dreams were very vivid and, not so pleasant. More like battles and seeing things coming. There's a lot of things that are coming. I think it wanted to seed a lot of stuff in my consciousness as well. Like it was mentally giving me pictures of a lot of things that are coming. The lockdown that we are in now, food shortages, people rioting, people, going through distress and maybe not handling things in a positive manner.
Yeah, that's something that it definitely felt like it did. It just came to basically cause chaos and trouble, and it had this attitude like we would never figure out how it's getting in. That's what I didn't like about it. I hate that attitude, that covert type abusive attitude, like I know something you don't, or where there's like an attitude of I don't know, I can't quite explain it, but it's just a very covert, yucky thing. But we'll figure it out. I'll do some processes and do some saging and maybe do some fire dancing or something and, try to lock that up. I do believe the property's on a portal. I also believe Michael's energies together attract things. I think we're curious because our abilities have gotten so much stronger together. It's like crazy strong. It's pretty awesome, actually. And I think that they'll do what they can to try to separate us because now we're helping to raise more vibration than ever. And yeah, they just want us apart.
Well, just like since we've been working on people, we're having such positive immediate effects, and it's lasting and it's really helping others, Mark is doing much, much better, Wages World. And so that's a blessing. And others, too, that we've been working on. See, the other thing, too, is we keep seeing Pleiadian energies just not even a mile or two away from us. We could see them clearly. And when we were heading home yesterday, there was the sparkling energy that we recognize as the Pleiadian energies. So that's so close to us, the Draco, everything is close to us now, so, but at the same time, this is a huge battle. Mm-hmm. It's a multidimensional battle going on, and we have to be aware of everything.
We do. There's a whole lot of things going on, and, we weren't taught any of this stuff. We weren't taught anything as far as how to handle these things, what we're going to be coming up on. So in a lot of ways, we're all sort of kind of winging it, or you can reach in and try to read your DNA energy, which can be kind of difficult at times because we have this social programming that we were all raised with. So we're going against a lot of things that have been embedded in our brains growing up. So these are very interesting times, and I think they're just going to get more interesting and more intense as, the vibrations go up and energies merge and we get stronger with more abilities. It's just going to get more interesting, but at the same time, a little scary and a little confusing too.
Yes, most definitely send love to the Pleiadians in the sky. They are fighting for us, and there's others as well. So, we made another video today, too. The video that says we are here. What's curious, too, guys, I'll just ask you guys, if you guys could, open up a tab and type in, we are here with you. and then see what happens. It's curious. It's really curious because, well, just I'll let somebody else do that and see what happens. This is something interesting, and Cindy's impression of who is given that message is really kind of interesting too, because I am very suspicious of so much going on. I've always been suspicious of the Q thing. At one point, it felt like it just totally turned, but in this case, it feels like it may be benevolent.
It did. My first impression was that the ones that were saying those exact words were benevolent. That's what the impression was. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to reassure us that they are battling on the other side for us, and it's just a matter of enough of us speaking up to change the reality. And if we did, and I do believe this, I really do, and the last video I did on the other channel, if we really were able to get rid of the rulers who are controlled by these, demonic wraith shadow beings and the Draco, I think everything would calm down. I really do. I think we wouldn't have this plague. I think we wouldn't have the super intense earth changes. I think there'd be earth changes, but they'd be much more manageable. And if we started to come into harmony and live in a symbiotic relationship with the planet and all the life on it, I think things would just change. I really do. I think that they are trying to make the worst outcome happen. And thank you, Agneta. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your support again.
And Agneta says it's a huge battle now, but we are not alone. No, we are not alone, Agneta. We absolutely do have help, and we do have abilities, and we can use them to meditate and turn things for the better.
Andrew says that Cosmic Agency says the comets are massive ships. That's my impression too. I don't think that they're natural. I think, and Cindy agrees, because we've talked about this before, that they're being guided. And it's a tug of war right now. It's a tug of war to make sure that we are not damaged by perhaps the tail, the debris tail, whatever else is they're bringing in. So it's a war of consciousness right now. And your impressions on the comet?
Oh my gosh, I believe that, there's a thing that could happen where it can be guided and into maybe even a safer place if we raise our vibrations and hold them high. I believe that the outcome can change. Timelines can change.
Yes, definitely. And so, we have to raise as many people's vibrations. And one of the things I find so frustrating, and I wish that we could wake people up quicker, is when they just say, it's judgment and there's nothing we could do about it, because that takes the power away from us. And I don't think it's the case, because I think if we could change everything that's happening on the world, if we really could band together, wake up enough people, like right now it's still perhaps to the point where if we could just get the people in the militaries to stand down and really step up for humanity in general, and not enforce the will of these dark beings, because that's the only thing they're doing really, is just enforcing their will. We could take back the world and avert all the disasters. I don't think it has to happen, but they're manufacturing it. They're making sure it does. They're keeping us separated.
Yeah, I think that's another thing with this COV-19 too, is our abilities together are much stronger. But at the same time, I think that this is showing us our abilities while we're apart too, because a lot of us think the same things, a lot of us see the same things, we have the same dreams. So it's actually showing us that anything that they can create on the 3D, we've already created, and we can already do it. In fact, I feel like a lot of the things that they did create on the 3D, as far as internet, Wi-Fi, and these little packets of information that fly back and forth, are exactly what's going on the higher dimensions, except for instead of us using it, they put these 3D things in the way so we don't practice our abilities.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And, Crazy Coyote says, like the Navy guy that was relieved of his duty because he was just kind of looking out for people, basically wanting to save lives. And so he got removed, and that's part of the bigger picture. Now, doesn't it seem so easy when we look at the moves that are made and we could see they're not logical? This is not what we would necessarily do if we were in the positions of power that these people are in, our power are doing. It just seems so apparent that they are playing along their agenda, which is not, it's not helping humanity. It's not helping the planet. And it's just like it's so obviously orchestrated now. Everything is getting just so clear. I don't understand. I understand it's programming in many cases, but it just seems so obvious to me. And I see, you guys are all awake too. And if we were doing this on the first channel, I know there's a lot more people that pop in there, and they might not be as many people that are awake. But we have to recognize, that we are co-creators here. We have a lot of power here. So we have to vibrate higher. We have to send that out into the world. We have to send our intentions to heal the world. And so, while we're doing this, would you ring the bell? Let's do our tradition. And since we started the tradition, and have Cindy clear the air. And I still am hearing from you guys more all the time about how you could actually go, since really time itself is an illusion. We're catching on to the matrix and understanding the matrix that we're in so much more now. Okay. So many of you guys are saying, I'll go back and I'll watch the live from the other day when Cindy was doing the tuning forks and clearing the air, and we were sending energy. And you know what? It got rid of my headache. It got rid of the ringing in my ears. It got rid of my sinus infection. All of a sudden, I felt better. So we're going to take a moment. And I know there's been a lot of group meditations going on. So let us send our healing energy and our positive intention out for the whole planet, for humanity, but also for the planet and all the creatures on it. That this plague, and let's use just plague, instead of saying anything with a C or anything in it, because that, as soon as we say that, then they start hitting us over here. They start paying attention a lot more to us. They start, they start policing things. So, yeah, the planet has to be cleansed, but we could do the cleansing with our intentions. And, the beings, the benevolent beings are going to come. They are going to come. It's just whether they come sooner or later. And the sooner, the better. Because, sometimes in the past, they've come before. As we know, the Hopi have talked about this coming up into the fifth world. So, we're at the fourth destruction, and we have to recognize that if we could get our vibes up higher, we could save more people and save more animals and everything that lives on the planet. So let's send healing intentions to wipe out the plague, to remove the controllers from power, to take the Wraiths and the Draco and all their minions and send them back into the lower astral realms, locked away from us, policed by perhaps some very benevolent, powerful archangels. That would be nice. And so let's call on all the powers of light to help us in this struggle against these powers of darkness, and to remove them, and to remove the plague that they've unleashed upon us, and to remove their ability to control us. So let's send that intention out now. And now let's send some healing energy out to everybody that listens to this. Do you have your DNA repair one?
I do.
Okay. And we're going to go with a different frequency, and we're going to send energy, positive healing energy, out to everyone that's listening to this. And I'm sensing, since we're being attacked on the etheric level so strongly, let's envision the violet flame, the violet light, encasing each one of us and encasing the entire planet in a violet color, which is the highest color to source, highest frequency. And Cindy's going to help us with this.
And also, if you guys could imagine your healthiest self, hold that space in your mind now. Now I need you guys to take a deep breath and blow all the negativity out through your feet into the earth to be recycled.
And thank you for your love, light, and healing that you guys are sharing. So Calico's asking, when can I see this comet? It's going to really depend on how dark you are. So if you're away from the cities, you'll see it sooner than later. We were pretty dark last night. I couldn't see it naked eye, although some people are starting to in some locations. It actually just passed by the Pleiades, coincidentally, and it's in the northern sky towards the Big Dipper. So it shall become pretty visible because it's still brightening exponentially. And, most definitely it appears to be a harbinger. But harbinger of what? I think we can affect that. I really think our attention and intention can affect it.
There is an app called Sky Map, I believe. It's free for some people. It was like $1 for me, but it's supposed to show where the comet is at.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Yeah, look off the tail of the Big Dipper, Chris says. And maybe if we could stay awake, we could shoot out a little bit farther out where it's even a little bit darker and see what we can see. It's interesting. As I said, I remember Hayutaki. That was really spectacular. And I lived in, a suburb up at that time in Connecticut, so it wasn't even super bright, but boy, you had no problem seeing it.
That's funny. Energies says both my dogs came and sat calmly by my feet during the last frequency. Yeah, a lot of critters pick up on this frequency when I'm working on people. People's kitty cats go and sit on their chest and they're looking for the sound. So animals know that there's something good with it. Yeah.
So when we look at, and getting back to what we were talking about, the planetary planes, as we said, physical world is where we are when we're conscious, and that's really changing. So the Australian Aboriginals say we're returning to dream time. Makes perfect sense, because in dream time, we're in the astral planes, depending on our vibrations, where we are. And as you go higher into the astral planes, they get better and better. And then we go up into the even higher planes after that. So this is just some info from the Law of One. If you guys have read or listened to the Law of One, I've gone through it at least 3 complete times, probably 3.5 times completely, and then I've also gone back and nitpicked through. I feel that the energy in there, and it was really good and pretty clear. So the question on this particular one, 1737, Well, who inhabits the astral and who inhabits the Devancanic planes? And then Ra, who's the consortium. So it's where we're heading. And so we're heading to unity consciousness. And that means that, there will be those of us that rise up together and become more aware of the oneness of all things. And Cindy's nodding her head.
Yeah, I do believe that. And right now it's just our conditioning and things that we've been through that keep us from rising to that level. And believe me, oh my gosh, we all have demons to work through, and I blame those on like the school system and stuff like that.
So Ra says entities inhabit the various planes due to their vibrational nature. The astral plane varies from thought forms in the lower extremities to enlightened beings who become dedicated to teach and learning in the higher astral planes. So just think about what that is saying there. It's basically saying it's all about our vibration. So if you have somebody that's saying to you, you have to get right with Jesus, well, in a sense, yeah, you have to have the consciousness that Christ had, that christened consciousness, which means that we are living in a state of compassion, love, and service to others. And when we do that, we're going to vibrate at a certain frequency. And then, when we're on the other side, we're going to gravitate towards the higher astral realms. If we are, in service to just self and operating in the lower energies, we're going to vibrate and gravitate into the lower astral realm. And what lives in the lower astral realm? Well, dark energies, demonic energies, exactly the things we've been talking about, those wraith-like beings, the Draco, for instance. And, what are those planes of existence like? Well, they're kind of like hell. They're not nice, whereas if we were vibrating at a higher vibrational rate, what are the higher ones like? Well, those are kind of like heaven. So it's all about our vibration. It's all about our vibration that's going to take us through to a more positive or negative experience. So, this is where we're heading now. So as a planet in our consciousness now, as we are leaving the third density here and heading into the lower 4D, this coincides with like the scripture where it talks about, woe to you, earth and sea, because the devil comes with wrath, knowing he has short time, because we're going through. And so these beings are going to become more and more physical to us. They're going to become more and more obvious to us. We're going to see them clearly, and we're going to see stuff that's going to, maybe make some people have an accident.
They might, because as the light gets brighter on a shadow, the shadow kind of gets darker and looks more dense. At least that's kind of how I think of it. But there's still, as long as you're still going toward doing what's right and doing the next best thing, you'll raise in vibration. It's just something that doesn't happen overnight.
Interesting too, because they talk about the Orion group, and the Orion group are the Draco with the Greys and others. And here the question is asking, these other second density types need the blood to remain in the physical? Because we know they can, and that's why they have their bloodlines. That's why they use the Bushes, the Queen of England, all these different bloodlines, because they could actually get into them and control them. And, hence we see the reptilian eyes. I know there was somebody in there saying you could see a reptilian eye in somebody, and we've seen it before too. It's interesting. And that's part of this whole keeping the blood pure and all. So, a lot of beings that we would take to be godlike beings, like devas, and they exist on higher planes. You could reach them in the higher astral realms many times and see them clearer there, but they're even higher than that. But it's interesting because we got to kind of go through hell to get to heaven, in a sense.
Well, yeah, and we're also here to go be on a journey and learn and grow, and life is somewhat short. And I think that our higher selves sent us here to play big.
Yeah. And, it gets into a lot. I have all the links for you guys as usual. I mean, great material. For about a year, I was listening to it every night going to bed and just absorbing it. And then just rolling through it again because there was so much stuff in there that felt really right. And, it gets into some things that could help you against these lower entities and keeping them from getting inside the house. And so one of the things that I have up, and I always put it up wherever I go, are sigils of the archangels. And that really works too. And then I also have a special symbol that was given to me by a special person for like personal protection that we have as well, and it has helped.
It does help. The sigils really, is it sigils or sigils? Sigils. Yeah, I like those. We didn't have a printer, so I ended up like tracing them.
And so over here we see also another look at this. So when you go down into the physical, and then you go out of the physical into the non-physical, and so you see where certain entities get stuck. They get stuck and they can't go any higher, and then going on up through to the higher levels, all the way up to like the ascended masters and the rishis of the Vedas. And there's different regions of the astral plane, and we're starting to enjoy life on the astral plane a little bit differently than we have in the past, So as I said, I found it made so much sense with the Australian Aboriginal point of view that we're heading back into Dreamtime, because we were in Dreamtime before.
Mm-hmm. And it is strange how a lot of us had trouble falling into Dreamtime last night, and then it's just a lot of crazy energy last night. So strange.
Very strange. And you know what? Isn't it more than a coincidence that like so much of us are going through exactly the same things right now? Exactly, because we're all family. We're all soul family. You guys that are here and gravitating at the same, gravitating in the same direction. We're all kind of being pulled in this direction. And so what must we do? Well, we must shed our crap and just move forward and not let ourselves be pulled down by these vibrations anymore. And for me personally, it's always been a tough decision on how much do you cover, how much do you get into things, and when you're potentially sending out vibrations that might lower people because of pointing out things that are fearful and scary, but are happening, So at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. But now I feel like it's so important to switch more and more and more to focusing on how can we lift ourselves up spiritually, because we're all becoming more spiritual in a sense that we are all becoming less heavy, less dense, as we're going through this whole transitioning period.
Well, we're getting taught new things too. So everything that we thought once was, at least when I was growing up, you go to church, you read the Bible, and you do these things. It seems like more and more people are able to break out of that paradigm and step out of that box and do some soul searching and exploring, which I think in our grandparents' time was absolutely unheard of. And now there's some of us, like with our children, we're able to be more open in talking to them about true spirituality instead of an organized type thing.
Yeah, look at everybody saying how they haven't been able to sleep.
Yeah,
this is most definitely, it's because the vibration, it's like things are just loose on the earth now more, and are trying to disrupt us to make sure that we don't have the energy to fight the good fight, but we're going to. Mm-hmm. And so we need to clear our space, and what we were just reading over there in the Law of One, was recommending garlic and salt. And, it's, again, when we look at, say, pagan traditions or Wiccan traditions, which, would scare a lot of fundamentalist mindset people, earth, air, fire, water, right? And spirit. So it's all symbolic. So we could smudge, we could bless water and use as holy water, right? And go in each of the directions again. You could use salt again, and same thing going through the directions. All these things are extra aid. There are elemental spirits as well that will help us with many things, and elemental beings that most definitely help us in healing ourselves. They help us with growing our plants in our gardens, and we could connect to them as well.
Definitely, we can. We do have body elementals that work on us. It seems like they do, when you meditate and you are able to quiet your mind, they can come in and work on your energy body, and they're very special. And I think that the things that we do in the ether, like burn sage, use the salt, the garlic, I think that there's very scientific based information behind that has been lost to us. I think there's ways to interrupt the ether to keep a lot of these bad energies from seeping through.
Most definitely. And Cheryl's thanking us, and we're thankful for you and that you're part of this family as the rest of you guys. Yeah, there's been a lot of ear ringing. It's different in different places too. I've noticed that. It feels better when we're way out. The more out in nature, the better it feels. There's just a different tone to it. So I wanted to share this with you. And this is Astral Dynamics. This was a great book. It's by Robert Bruce. And, he has some really, really good books out there. If you get into some of the... Now this, I had to log in with my Google account to get it. So everybody, you might be able to find another PDF out there. But, this one I brought up using my Google account. It's Acadia, and there's other ones out there probably. But it gets into, because I was so into astral projection. It's all about projection. Astral projection gets into dimensional theory, the projectable double, incredible mind split, complications of consciousness, astral sight, waking paralysis. How many of us have had that before, where you can't move, and different out-of-body experiences. Now it doesn't take much time at all to get to the point where I feel the rocking sensation, and then it's almost a little bit like a dizzy type of feeling as you go up through the crown chakra and come kind of back and out through the crown chakra out of the body. And then it's about lucid dreaming too, and controlling your dreams. Gets into a lot of good stuff, really interesting stuff. So I wanted to point out, though, again, since we're talking about the lower astral, it gets into the lower astral subplanes. Traditionally, the ones to be avoided, and unfortunately, or fortunately, in the bigger picture, fortunately, because we got to go through it. We got to go through this. It's something that we are here to work through, guys. And so these areas, the lower astral subplanes, appear to be the areas where negative emotion, thought, and fantasy-generated energies have been collecting for a very long time. These areas are home to negative manifestations of the darker side of the human mind and imagination. The fringes of these areas are not dangerous, but are decidedly unpleasant. The very bad lower subplanes are dark, shadowy areas populated, or more aptly, polluted, with all kinds of demons, monsters, and nightmarish figures. The lowest of these dark areas could aptly be called the hellish dimensional areas. So if you find yourself in or near a negative area, the common sense solution is to project away to a brighter area as soon as possible. The fastest way to move away is to strongly imagine somewhere nicer and use instant projection to shift there. Hold an image of the entrance structure firmly in your mind, and instantly projecting there will usually return you to the surface without you getting lost or aborting the projection. So he's talking about doing this intentionally, astrally projecting. Whereas right now, we're actually kind of going up into this area as a group, as a collective. So if this does not work, fly straight up while using uplifting spiritual thoughts, prayers, or song to elevate consciousness. Fly towards the brightest area or spark a light that can be seen above or overhead. An upward direction will usually take a projector away from a negative area. Astral travelers need not pass through negative or lower astral subplanes to travel to more positive and higher astral levels. So what we're doing as a collective is we got to purge ourselves, and the earth too, the whole planet, up through this area so we could get to the higher ones, which are actually the quote-unquote heavens that we've heard of in the traditions. So we can do this, and when we're encountered, of course, by these darker beings, you could focus on Jesus, if that's your belief system. You could focus on Krishna. You could focus on Buddha. You could focus on, anything that brings your vibration up. Any good example of love and light will help to bring you up. And also, at the same time, it will be like, sticking garlic in a vampire's face.
That I don't think that they would like that, but it does make me wonder if that would really truly work. We might be coming up on a time where we're going to find out if these things really truly work, because I think that I don't know if it's going to be the veil being lifted, or we're just going to simply understand that there truly is no veil. That maybe everything that we've always seen has always been right there. It's just never been pointed out to us, never been taught to us. So yeah, life is going to be interesting, and all of these things that we think is folklore, that we thought were just wives' tales. I believe that we're going to get some confirmation soon. That's what I feel.
Yeah, as why says, all you need is love, because it will vibrate you up. And I have always been on like this spiritual quest ever since I was 5 years old. And so as I've shared with you guys, I was raised Catholic and then started going to a Baptist church by choice. I wanted to go. I was like 11. And then I've gone to evangelical churches. I've gone to Jews for Jesus. I've gone to a Lutheran church for quite a while. We had a great pastor, and then when they shipped him out, kind of changed a little bit. But you name it, I've been there. I've been there, and where they were getting slain in the spirit. And you want to talk about electric? It's electric. So I've also taken part in Wiccan circles with friends as well. Been to Jewish services of various sorts, Hindu, Buddhist, just everything I could get in contact with, I've experienced. And, the underlying thing is that it's all about love. Ultimately, it's all about love and compassion. It doesn't matter so much the trappings. Whatever is comfortable for you is fine. It's just a matter of where are you vibrating at? So, you might think you have the right dogma, but if we're living a judgmental life that's very, very lower vibrational, and we're still lashing out at people, we're still getting, angered, and maybe even, getting abusive towards others, it doesn't matter what you say or what you do as far as any type of dogma or ritual. You're still vibrating in a lower place. And, again, I'd say the nicest experiences I have had in my life have been in kirtans. And these kirtans that I went to on a regular basis were mostly people that were born Jewish, converted to Christianity, and now call themselves Hind Jews, because they were basically following the Hindu tradition with doing mantras and kind of incorporating it all in, as well as a lot of Sikh family and friends as well. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for your support. Happy vibes. A lot of the great stuff that we would sing and chant together, it might be like doing a Hare Krishna mantra, and then bursting into a stanza from the Beatles or John Lennon, or something else, Native American merged with, there was one song we did that was part Native American, and then it was also out of the Jewish tradition, and I found them extremely powerful when you started to put them together, because then I think we're starting to get to the core, the real core, which is all about vibration.
And thank you so much, Kim. So appreciate your support. And yeah, I know one of these days I'll get to a kirtan and I'm going to love it and it's going to be great. And it also makes me wonder, when we do mantras or sing, it's almost like our higher self wants to hear our voice, because after we get done doing mantras, I buzz and I feel kind of high and I feel really good. And I think that raises the vibration. Just simply, doing these mantras. It's something within our own voice, our own core voice that helps raise our vibration. So I would recommend you guys sing your little hearts out, do mantras, just hear yourself, enjoy yourself, love yourself. It's a really important time to do that right now.
Yep. As Crazy Coyote says, yep. Doesn't matter whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Jew. It matters if you follow the love. That's the ultimate thing. It's so true. And it really, I don't think I understood it left-brained for a long time. But it took experiencing that and feeling that amazing bliss for me to have like these Kundalini experiences that were incredible. And it really lifted my vibration up a ton. Yeah, it was just amazing what it's done. It's been such a blessing. So that is so important. So I have all the PDF for you guys too, so you could check them out. Astral Dynamics is really a cool book too. And thank you, Rick. Thank you so much for your support, brother. It's all about our vibration. So we're going to keep working on getting everybody's vibration up higher. We're going to keep doing these type of things, and we'll do more of them and more group healings together, because we can do so much together. That's what it's about now. The next step is for us to head into that unity consciousness. And as we know, Ra, the entity Ra, from the Law of One, is a collective. It's a collective. And so they've done it, and we're starting to do it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like rubber is just about to hit the road, you guys. And I feel like this is our time to prep for something really, really awesome and wonderful and extraordinary. Something that we can tell our kids and our grandkids about. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do feel the change. It's beautiful.
So thank you guys for joining us again. As always, we love you guys. Thank you so much for your support and for your love. And just sharing this time, this space, this holy, sacred space with us, because it is holy and sacred, especially when we all are of that mindset that is positive and moving upwards, and we are dedicated to moving upwards.
Indeed, we are, you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Yes. As always, God bless, my friends. Namaste.
God bless and namaste.